Hey girl, hey! Welcome back to a new episode of the Good Guy Girl podcast. I am joined here by somebody super special, as you can see. But before we get into that, I need you to stop what you're doing. Go ahead and subscribe to the Good Guy Girl because here we are on the YouTubes. But also subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, whatever your jam is. Go ahead and do that for me. But obviously, I'm here with somebody. If you were here for the Good Guy Girl seasons ago, what was this? Maybe like 3 years ago now.
Oh my gosh, yep.
3 years ago now. Then you will remember my good friend Shanell, who was then Shanell McCoy, but is now Shanell McCoy Jones.
Yes.
So much has changed. That was the God Moves, I Move podcast episode. So go ahead and subscribe and listen to those old episodes because it's going to play a part in this one. But, hey girl.
Hey.
Hi. And I have to say, I'm sorry friend.
Go ahead.
I have to say that like she just came in town and I took advantage of this time to like sit and record with my friends. So we're catching up.
Yes, we are.
Is live in action.
We're recording our catch-up.
No, period.
Because I love her.
Oh.
And I missed her. I'm not about to cry.
I haven't seen my friend in
I know. We haven't hung out in 3 years.
That's a long time.
Like, we've seen each other. Like, I've had, like, gatherings at the house and stuff. But, like, one-on-one. Yeah. We have not done that in, like, 3 years.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
Okay, so 3 years. It's been 3 years since I last seen you for real, like this, being able to sit and talk. And dang, even then, girl, you were gone. Because, like, on the episode, you weren't even here.
No, I was.
I was. We were just virtual?
I think because it was...
COVID?
Yep.
Okay.
So it was on
that
Zoom.
Pandemic, child.
Yeah, it was something else.
But, okay, so that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
During that time, you was a fiance.
Yes. And you weren't.
I know. Dang,
I don't mean it like that. I don't want to say it like that.
But you weren't. No, I'm just kidding.
Girl, you were single. But I'm excited because that was the time when I was a fiance and I was planning my wedding. And we probably will mention this later, but you asked me to come to the park. Yeah,
girl.
Because you thought that you might be feeling our friend.
Yes.
Who is now your husband.
Period.
Which is so crazy. So
that's crazy. That is.
It is crazy. And it's crazy too, just thinking about the fact that we've known each other since we were 15.
15. I know. Oh, y'all, I forgot to tell you. In honor of the 30th episode of The Good Guy Girl and my 30th birthday, like, hence the 3 and the 0 behind us, like, it only makes sense that my friend of, like, who has been my friend since half my life. That's so crazy.
Wow. Oh, why am I so emotional? Is it because I'm a mom now?
Probably.
I don't, or maybe that time of the month is coming, but I feel like I'm about to cry this whole episode.
You might.
But that is crazy.
I know.
Because we met at the beginning of the school year in the 10th grade. Yeah. And so that was September, but you turned 15, had to be in August.
Yeah.
So 15 years.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm about to cry.
I know, friend. Okay, catch me up. Because what's been going on? Like, 3 years, you got married. Yeah. So we synced the wedding.
Well, can I say, because I think I said this on an Instagram story, and Instagram stories only last 24 hours.
You're right.
But I want to submit this in the fact that that wedding would not have happened without you. Because literally, like, that whole walk at the park, or it was at the lake, was so historic because that's when you were like, we
was going through it.
We were, because that's where I told you. Well, first that's where you told me you think you like Mallory, but
and I think he liked me.
Yes. Oh, okay. Yes.
I was freaking out.
Which we got to talk about too, because the man called me a couple of days later and was like, "I think I'm feeling Bree," and I was like, "Oh, y'all need to just figure this out."
Okay.
But anyway. That was also the day I told you that, you know, we were supposed to get married in November, but we decided that we were going to do a courthouse wedding in August. Yeah. But also, backyard. No, it was courthouse wedding. And the only reason why it became a backyard wedding was because of your input and my father-in-law and my mother-in-law. Because they were like, so what's the plans? And we're like, we're just going to the courthouse. Yeah. So what happened was I had just ordered a headband wig.
Yeah. That was
off of You Nice.
That was it.
Yes. It was coming in the mail, and I was like, we just gonna go to the courthouse. And Bree said, absolutely not.
Absolutely, that's literally what I said. I said, absolutely not. No, you will not get married in no headband wig. Yes. And that's no shade to anybody who got married in a headband wig. But it wasn't happening with my friend. Yes. No, it was not.
Praise God for you. Yeah. Because I had just cut my hair, and I was putting wigs over it. Yeah. And so you called your hairstylist. Yes. Paid for me to get my hair done. Yes. Pay for my makeup, help me pick out my dress. I was wearing her shoes when we were doing the wedding. She put together my bouquet. That part. She took yes,
girl. Okay, my earrings. Hashtag wedding planner.
Crazy, and then on top of that, like you would think that you'd be sitting like, oh, this is beautiful. She grabbed the camera and started taking pictures. So she was the photographer too. It was crazy.
Girl, that makes me think about that movie. Who's in that movie with Sandra Bullock? The one, this is my godmom's favorite movie. It's the one where she, like, her visa is ending.
Oh, the Canada?
Yeah, yeah. And Ryan Reynolds.
Yes, The Proposal, right?
Not Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, The Proposal. Yeah, and then, you know, you go and they're in Alaska, and then the guy is doing, like, everything. He is, like, doing everything.
That was you.
That's what I felt like.
But it like, I think it struck me later on, like, I'm not finna just be crying on the podcast. Ooh. But just how much you cared. Because that day would not have been that.
Oh, you're crying already. Girl, go get the tissues. Go get the tissues.
But no, it was blessed. It was very blessed. And just to have you in my corner during that time. That was ugly. To have you in my corner during that time. When it was hard, it was just hard. Like, I think the transition to get married, especially as quickly as we did it was hard to find the support. Yeah. And I think even you voiced that as my friend to say, like, girl, we don't really know him like that. Yeah. But it was like, you still loved us through it and still, like, helped us to, you know, get through that day. Yeah. So... Thank you. I love you,
that's because I love my friends. Like, I go in for my friends.
Yes, you do.
And my friend, there ain't no way she was going to look back at that wedding. Yes. And look at that head and remember that headband. That headband wig.
Listen, I can't stand that little headband wig now. Every time I see a picture, I'm like, no.
Girl, I'm so glad you didn't know. But I love you, friend. And I love you, too. You know what's so funny about that is that, like, okay, so it was a low-key wedding. Mm-hmm. And... so I took the photos for it, not knowing that Mallory, well, I didn't know he was coming in town, and I was low-key gonna volunteer him. I did volunteer him because we were all friends. We were all three of us were, like, very close friends, and he was coming in town the next day, and we were gonna surprise him, like, sharing the news that they got married. Yeah. And I was gonna be like, yeah, surprise, can you edit these photos? But, you know, like, that was something I think that kind of, like...
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that
kind of pushed us a little bit closer.
But it's all crazy because one, I was gonna do the courthouse because we thought we were still gonna get married in November, but it happened. We did the backyard wedding instead, and then had to cancel the November wedding because of COVID. It started ramping back up, so we didn't know that was gonna happen. So the fact that we had the backyard wedding, just to clarify, became a blessing because that was the wedding and we didn't know it was going to be that. But also the fact that you had Mallory edit the photos. I was just like, what?
Hashtag help me.
Yes. But and then it was like during that time from the wedding to when we moved out of town, that's when, like, stuff started, like, building up between you two. Where it was revealed that you liked each other. Yes.
And we were talking. Yes. And then the day you and your husband moved. Yep. Well, your farewell party was our first date.
Yeah. It was so cute.
Your friends, they be all wrapped up in just, like, the purpose. But I think, like, the one thing that I definitely want to emphasize in this is, like, the scripture that comes to my mind is, seek ye first the kingdom and all things shall be added unto you. Because this started, me and Shanell, I say that because, like, when you seek after God first, everything that you want. Yeah. Oh, my other scripture, my favorite one is, I think it's Psalms 37. It's, delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart, you know? Yeah. And I think during that time and during that season, like I was fresh out of college, you were doing your thing, your college, your entrepreneurship, you was doing your thing.
Just trying to do things.
Literally.
Just trying to do everything.
But we were just so hungry and so focused on seeking God, like to the point me and you were in the car and we were driving and we were like, we were just talking about how we just really wanted to like just impact just this generation with God and just like share like just the gospel. Wow. And we were like, let's do a podcast. And you're like, well, we need a guy. We need a guy. Like, it can't just be just us. Like, our perspective is so jaded. Because we'll be coming, this dude, and forget them dudes. And that,
because we were saved, but we weren't saved. Like, we were a work in progress.
Yeah, we were working through our sanctification.
We were. But for some reason, because God, obviously, we were like, we need to have a podcast talking about God.
Yeah, we never launched an episode, but we called my husband now. But we called him to be a part of that.
Because we were driving and trying to think of a guy to add to it.
And it was only two.
And I was thinking, like, maybe Mallory, because he just posted a Facebook status that was super saved. Like, it was, he seemed like the most Christian guy that we knew.
Yeah, literally. And from there, that just started our relationship with just fellowship. Like,
it was literally fellowship.
It just was fellowship. Like, we brought our dating troubles, and we just, like, talked through just all the struggles, like, that we went through, like, in our faith, and, like, you know, being in the world but not of it. And that's what grew our relationship. And so I say that because, you know, I just watched a podcast, shout out to Kaylee, from Spiritual Love Pod, because she was pointing out, like, how, you know, everybody has an assignment, you know, like everybody has an assignment, in everything matters, you know what I'm saying? So like, if Mallory would have never posted out loud about his walk with God, you would have never thought of him to be a part of this podcast. And like, we would have pursued this. I could have been married to somebody else.
Listen,
you know,
not on God's watch.
Right, period. But like, you know, so I just like really want to emphasize just like, seek ye first the kingdom of God. Like, we just were so hungry for God, and just so hungry to, like, you know, pursue his like will for our lives, and try to figure out what that was.
I love that. I appreciate it even more now, because I mean, that had to be like, what, 2018, 2019. And we were like we were in the midst of our 20s, like just 20ing it up, like trying to figure out dating, trying to figure out life. And we would come together whenever we came together and I don't know if it was like every week or whatever. It
was like, every couple of weeks.
Yeah. Like, we would do planning meetings for our podcast. We would
we never launched.
We never launched it. We would try to record, but we kept coming together. But every time we came together, we would just talk about life. And then, let's talk about the podcast too. Yeah. But that was, you know, during the time, of course, when Khadijah passed away, and then we ended up linking up and talking. It was like, when I met Kaylin and I brought him to y'all, and I was like, hey, I think I met somebody that I like. But it was just a lot of life. And then we just kept meeting and like kept having those conversations. Yeah. And it's just divine how we never launched it, but it was such a time for us.
But it still had like fruit. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you may not see it right away. Yeah. But it still had fruit. You know? Yeah. Hence this marriage.
Yes. But I'm like, if that's what came out of Blessed Up, it was called Blessed Up.
Don't take our
don't take it, because we might. I don't know, but if that's what came out of it, then I mean, way more came out of it. I think just like us being able to do life together at a time where we needed each other and didn't know it was definitely a blessing. Yeah.
Oh, I love you, friend.
Me too.
But speaking of,
yes.
Ding, 20s, we was lifing.
Yeah, we were.
That's really the topic of the discussion today, is focusing on our 20s, because there are a lot of 20-somethings that are out there, in the world, but not of it.
Yeah.
And y'all struggling. Y'all going through it.
Yes.
And I just want to let you know that you're not alone. And so we're here today to, like, just shed some light on that. Because it's the end of the year. I just turned 30.
Yes.
I just turned 30.
1994, baby.
Yeah, I know. 30. Yes. You make me sound so young when you say that.
1994, baby.
Yeah. But also, it's the 30th episode of The Good God Girl. Yay. So, like, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
And you know what's so funny, too, is the fact that, like, when I first started, the podcast, or even before the podcast, because the podcast used to be my blog called Bree Inspired, and I was writing my stories. Like, one of the first blogs that I ever wrote was, "This is for my 20-somethings," and it was really just kind of like, you know, I was only like 24, 25 at the time, but just like,
wow, yeah,
I know,
girl,
it feels so long ago,
doesn't it?
It does, but at the same time, it feels like it was just yesterday. Yeah. Wow. So, like, your 20-somethings have been, they was something. I was there for them.
Yes. That's why I was like, whoa, because
I was there for all of them.
Oh, my gosh. Just remembering all the things the phases of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen, God knew what he was doing.
Okay, that part.
Yes.
So, we're looking back on our 20s.
Yeah.
What did you love about your 20s? Like, did you love your 20s? I think that's the better question. Is like, did you even love them? But yeah, I guess, how did you feel about your 20s?
That's a good question. You know, the way I described it when I turned 30, and I turned 30 in April, it felt like a love story. Oh. It felt like...
Okay, go ahead and romanticize your 20s then. Period.
Well, more so let me say this. I entered my 20s in a relationship. Not a good relationship. So initially, it felt like a love story with this person who I thought I would like be with. Of course, because when you're young, you're like, I'm gonna be with you forever, right? And it's toxic. It's not healthy. Yeah. Getting cheated on, all the stuff, blah blah blah. Going through the drama of that. I didn't leave that relationship until I was 22. So I entered my 20s, and I can remember my 20s entering it with this person, leaving at age 22, and then I spent the next 3 to 4 years just trying to heal because I was in that relationship for 5 years. So 4 and some change. But I spent the next couple years just trying to heal. And so I thought the love story then was about falling in love with myself. Yeah. And it wasn't until 2020 when we were all locked up in the house and I was like single but still like obsessing over being in a relationship. But God kind of knocked me down and I had this whole like revelation, rededicated my life to God, and what felt like a love story to myself became a love story with God. Okay. Because you know what song comes to my mind? Falling in love with Jesus. It's just starting low. Falling in love. So you said falling in love with Jesus is like, that's a nice title for your 20s. Oh yeah. Okay. Well, so yes. And then I think once I committed to God, because I never understood the gospel until 2020. And I've been in church my whole life. And once I fully understood why Jesus and why Jesus died for our sins and like all of that, I was like, oh, he loves me. Yeah. And so I stopped trying to seek validation from other people and like seeking redemption coming out of the relationship I was in, and even the broken friendships and all that stuff. I just felt peace. Yeah. But after that peace is when I met my husband when I was 27. And then, you know, that's a love story in itself. Yeah. So it's just, I felt like I was just learning love. Yeah. You know? Aww. So now I feel at peace. Like coming into my 30s, I'm like, I feel peaceful about the love in my life, the love I have with God, and the love with myself, and then even my friends. Because, I mean, I feel like we get married and it's different. Yeah. Things shift, and that was really hard for me too. So now I just feel like like peaceful and loved and in love. Yeah. Oh, we can get into that's a whole episode all on its own because but I'm gonna go back because I don't want to. I can go on a tangent, but I'm not gonna go on a tangent this time. I would say I agree that like that resonates
you know. I mean, I think yours sounds a lot more graceful and a lot more beautiful, your 20s, for sure. Girl, mine was a hot mess.
That's true. Mine was also a hot mess, but I reconciled with myself. But go ahead.
No, girl, the 20s was ghetto.
Yeah. Okay, let's be real. Yes.
Girl,
yes.
My 20s was really, in my opinion, looking back, it looks a hot mess. But I feel like it wouldn't be Brianna if it wasn't a hot mess. Not you affirming.
I'm like, let me be careful about what I'm affirming.
Yeah. I love those
That's
videos.
The shade. That's
Girl,
the shade.
you know.
Girl, listen. But
Okay,
yes.
but no, yeah, I would say, gosh, some of the worst years were in my 20s, and so, but like, I think what I loved about my 20s was the fact that I could be a hot mess. Like, you know, I feel like I was in a space, I actually was just like reflecting on this, like, I remember this, this quote, ignorance is ignorance bliss. You know, 8th grade, my teacher, first day English class, had us write our response to is ignorance bliss.
Really?
Yeah, I know, right? Okay, Ms. Zimboski, Ms. Zigzasp. I forgot.
What's the teacher name?
Zigzasp. I forgot. Started with a Z though.
She probably watching the podcast too.
I don't know if
dang.
she doing that, but. She wouldn't even know who she was if she heard this. But no, like I loved the fact that I could be a hot mess. You know, I do feel like I feel like ignorance was bliss, and I think that saved me. You know, specifically like thinking in my relationship with Christ, because like I was so ignorant. Like I was moving in a way, and not like ignorant, like reckless, kind of, not really, but that's not what I was referring to. I was more so referring to the fact that like I was out here like doing things that, and I didn't know that I was necessarily like sinning, you know. But like God is so good, because like, you know, but even aside from that, like I believe that like my mess ups have really helped to shape like just the way that I'm able to like press forward. I think like there was a lot of wisdom that came from those mess ups. It did not, obviously, like it didn't feel good in the moment, right? Because you know, you mess up and you got to go through like the process of like you know, healing and all that. Which so that was like a hot mess, but you know, it helped me to be like where I'm at now, and my thought process as to like why I move the way I move now, and all that stuff. I think like your 20s is really your time to be a hot mess, you know. I was
you get grace for that.
Grace, that's the word I was looking for.
See, I mean, that's what makes the difference is what you said about your 20s, is that if you actually take the hot mess and learn from it, then you become better. But if you stay a hot mess, I mean, that's different.
Then you just a hot mess.
It is what it is.
It ain't cute. Right. Then you in your 30s being a hot mess, and that ain't cute.
We don't got time to be a hot mess in our 30s. Like, not that we're gonna get it perfect, but I feel like what we were doing in our 20s was really trying to find ourselves and really trying to figure it out. You know, but
okay, so speaking
let me not
of,
get to the conclusion.
L's up for them hitters, okay? That song came out when I was like 20 or something, or maybe 18. L's up for them hitters. Hey. I used to be a little party girl. That was the party tongue.
Ooh,
but
yes, it was.
Let me catch it.
That was the millennial face.
Okay. Biggest L's in your 20s.
Oh Lord.
I'm gonna go to you. This is your question.
L for the Lord.
You funny.
L girl. Okay, let me not be all poetic, because it was a lot, man. Can I tell? Okay, here's one that's funny. Okay, let me say it like this. Millennials, we grew up in an age where we recorded everything. We made content for everything. Like, our parents can talk about their 20s, but there's probably like a Polaroid of their 20s, but not a podcast. Like, we were making podcasts, blogs, videos, YouTube channels. Like, we recorded our stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's some things that I have that I've recorded that I'm like, I need to burn this. Like I found a mixtape with some old CDs.
Uh-huh.
Girl, I had a song, it's called By MFer.
Oh.
I went to the studio.
No, how does it go?
I said it was cute in the beginning, but it was like, this for my girls, like we going to the club, get your dress, whatever, and tell that MFer bye.
See, that's what our podcast would have been like if Mallory wasn't on it. I told y'all.
I swear, it was like, tell them bye to that mother ever. Sorry. Well, and what's funny is I have another friend who is saved now, but she was on the interlude. So I heard that song popped up because I took some mixtapes from my parents' house that I had, and it popped up on my radio in the car.
That is hilarious.
I said, I need to burn this.
Don't burn it. Keep it as a remembrance.
It's not that's one of those, if anybody finds this, they will blackmail me.
Oh.
Like it will be a wrap for me everywhere.
No.
But yeah, I did stuff like that. Like I recorded everything, and I feel like during that season where we were podcasting and stuff, definitely like recorded my biggest L's, thinking it was like funny on the podcast, and everybody heard it. So I know that they're L's and unrepeatable because I can't talk about them with my husband. You know, like those are things that you don't want to bring into marriage. So I don't know. I had a lot of stuff with men, with music. With trying to be creative and trying to figure out how to express myself. And just sharing too much.
Yeah. Oversharing. Girl.
Yeah. What about you?
That's a great question. Come back.
Come back. It's your question.
I know.
Well, can I ask a question?
Oh, yeah.
If I may. I would love to know, because we've known each other for so long. Like, what do you remember about my 20s? And then I want to share what I remember about your 20s.
Oh my gosh. Ooh, this is going to put me on the spot. Okay, what do I remember about your 20s? I think I say this term a lot, but struggle bus, it was a struggle bus. But it was like, you just wasn't like, okay, let me rephrase this. Okay.
It's okay.
I think that in terms of, what's the saying? I forget that one. It's from like The Color Purple. Oh, it's my life. I had to fight.
Dang.
Yes. That's what it was like.
Oh,
and specifically, like, I think because like watching you go through, like, experience different friendships.
Oh, yes.
You know, watching you experience different, like, your relationship, and then like going into dating, and like even watching your journey through like entrepreneurship and like jobs, your career, and then just like, you know, your personal life and how that's all shaped you. Girl, you was out there fighting. Girl. But the fight was worth it.
Yeah.
Okay, period. Because
that's funny that you remember it like that.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Like I think about, you know, just conversations we would have about, like, girl, you used to just be ditching these friends. She used to just be ditching them, like,
yo, I did.
You know, but
and thank God for your grace.
That is hilarious. I mean, she ain't ditched me.
No, I did not.
You ain't ditched me. But I think with your friends, I saw you go through, like, really discerning, like, what's good for your peace of mind and what's good for your spirit. Is the way in which they ended, I think. Yeah. That was like,
could have used some words.
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. But, you know, I was exaggerating with the all of my life I had to fight, except for the relationships.
Oh, yeah, that was a fight.
Them dudes had you messed up.
Yeah, they did.
But you also...
And I was choosing not good.
Yeah. I know. That's because you're just a lover girl.
Yeah. And I think what it was lack of boundaries.
Yeah.
And one of the things I saw with my friendships was that as soon as I started setting boundaries, or as soon as I started realizing, like, nah, I didn't know how to articulate them, so it was easier for me to be like, I'm about to leave. Like, yeah. And I have doubled backs. How do you say that? Double back. I don't know.
ED on the back.
Double backed.
Yeah.
Awesome. I've gone back.
Yeah.
To some people and I've apologized.
Yeah.
But it was a struggle.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to me though that my closest friends now are the ones who have been there through all of that, which is so crazy. So I don't know.
I think you, in all honesty, I was playing. She wasn't struggling like that, but it just, I feel like you were just figuring it out. You know, like you were just figuring it out with your dating.
Oh, I was struggling.
You know, right? Yes. But like,
you
were just figuring it out with like your dating, what kind of guys you're even like interested in, like, because you were in that relationship from high school into your like early adulthood, so you know that's a whole thing. But figuring it out with your music, you know, like your songwriting,
and what do I
and
sing about?
Your sound, like watching you just create, you know, like so much, like your videos. Like for those who don't know, the theme song for The Good God Girl is sung by the one and only. That's like my favorite song.
I'm glad
and
you
need
like
to put that album back out. I'm putting her on blast. You need to go ahead and put that album back out.
I feel like I need to re-record it.
No, you don't. It's a part of your story.
It is.
It's just there. Like, it's just a part of it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like deleting, like, half the episodes of The Good God Girl, but I leave it because, you know.
I mean, but Good God Girl, it was, you were more saved.
No.
On Good God. No?
I mean, yeah. But also, like, you know, you're going through and you're growing, you know, and it's just like a testament to your growth. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
So, like, don't take that away.
But, you know, so this is what I'm remembering because you were always, okay, I remember always coming to you about major decisions. Yeah. So I just remember your voice. So I wanted to start a podcast called Single AF. After, like, during the Blessed Up time.
Oh, yeah.
Single AF. And I sent it to you, and you were like, I don't think this represents you, or long term, I don't think. But you were always like a voice of reason. And then there was one time I went up to St. Cloud, and we partied. Yeah. Remember? And I went back to your apartment, and you had people over, and I was like, girl, I think I'm about to be a hoe. Like,
I remember that, too. I said, do it, girl.
No, that time, yes. But the second time, I think you was like coming back to the Lord. And I went into your room, I said, sis, I think it's about to go down. Yeah. And you said, that. Shanell. Yeah. Do not, you talked me back.
Don't do
it,
sis.
So it was like you were always planted at the right times to like bring me back to where I needed to be. Yeah. So like, definitely am grateful that
that's
you've
hilarious.
been steady
because
in my
that's
life.
real. Yeah. That's real. Sometimes you just feel like being
and that was when
and Miss Summer Walker said that.
Yeah.
I just might be it. I'm just kidding.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. It was trending in that era to go through a whole phase.
Yeah, for sure.
It was trending. So I was like, do I do that too?
Yeah.
And there was a time when I asked you the first time, and you was like, yes, girl, I feel like you should do what you want to do. And I was like, okay. You know what I did after that conversation? Huh. Listen, let me not have my husband listen to this episode.
I'm terrible.
Who you
choose to seek advice from matters. Okay?
It does, but after... Girl, I left, so we were at a restaurant. I was like, I think it should be a hoe. And then Rihanna was like, yeah, girl, yes. You and somebody else. So why did I leave? I had no idea how to be a hoe. Like, I had no idea how to, like, enter that world. So I ended up, like, texting two guys I was talking to, and I was like, hey... Ooh. I didn't know what else, like, and I was like, maybe it's gonna lead to something. Yeah. It didn't lead to nothing.
That was God's grace. Okay, very.
Because I didn't know what I was doing.
And I didn't know what I was saying.
I didn't know the first thing. But then I came back to you again. Yeah. And you said, girl, no, get it together. And praise God that I did not enter that phase.
That is so funny.
No shade to anybody who has, because there's redemption. But,
okay.
You know.
That's so funny. Forgive me, Father. For she know not what she say.
Okay.
Because she was talking foolishness.
We didn't know. But I'll say this about your 20s. I want to say this. In conclusion, in 30s, I'm so proud of you.
Aww.
Because, girl.
My 20s was a hot mess.
I feel like equally our 20s was doing something. So here's what I remember. I remember 20-year-old Bree was very, very black everything. Yeah. Like black activist. Like he was not playing. And I remember you grabbing the mic at It was the when Mallory was doing poetry.
Yeah, at that event.
Yes, and you grabbed the mic and you got on your soapbox. You started preaching to people about blackness and this
Did
and that. Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay.
Aww.
Okay, so we're doing this. But I just remember that. But you were always very proactive about doing what was right. So we don't give you enough credit for starting a whole conference.
Aww.
Dang. You started a whole conference and invited me, and I think that's how we kind of rekindled our friendship.
Yeah.
You invited me to do a workshop at the conference because I just started a podcast, and that's how we reconnected. And then I ended up meeting like all these friends from that. And but yeah, anyway, it's about you. You were very proactive. You were very like about your stuff. You was not playing, but you were very argumentative.
Yeah.
Like you were very like.
Dang, not her putting me out there. That's the truth.
You were very like I'm standing on business all the time. So I feel like to see Graceful Bree, it's like whoa.
Yeah.
Like God did a work.
He sure did. Yes. I'm glad y'all get to see it too.
Yes.
Mallory should be happy too.
But hearing y'all interact, it's like Mallory like.
You don't
10
know.
years ago?
You don't know.
Okay.
You don't know. Thank you. Let him know that.
I hope.
He could have got a different breed.
Listen.
Look, just be. This is why I say, y'all should be happy. The world should be happy that I love the Lord.
Yes. Because he can take that and channel it into a different gift.
Okay, because don't let me be mad at somebody.
Yes. Yes.
You know, so God is good. That's all I got to say.
Very good.
And she's a testament to it.
Yes.
She saw it.
So you were very fun, very woke, very like, about your business. And then, we had these men.
Yeah.
That we were navigating.
Yeah. I was a real girl, I'm over here talking about all of my life I had to fight, girl. I was just a hot mess, but I wasn't even fighting it.
Man, trying to figure it out, trying to send these men Bible plans so that they could be on our level.
Yeah. Ugh, don't do that.
That's a whole other
Don't do
podcast.
that. That's ick.
Yeah. Don't disciple. Don't what's it called?
Lead.
Ministry date or like I forgot. It's a way to say it, but like don't date for ministry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this man is not your project. He's not your ministry.
Like think you could change them?
No.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay, safe to say like 20s was just our time of like figuring it out.
Yeah.
Okay, so we figured it out.
Yes.
For the most part. Not everything.
Praise the Lord.
But we're in a whole different space.
Yes.
And I would say we're pretty successful.
Yes.
Right? Like you're a mom,
yeah.
a wife, an entrepreneur. Okay, so I actually wanted to ask this question of like, how has your relationship with God like evolved like through just those different like seasons in your life? Like those are, because that's major. You got not one kid but two.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I think in my 20s, I was Christian, but I was, like, not a Christ follower. And I think there's a distinction. So, like, I would pray, but that was, like, the extent. Like, I didn't trust God with my life. I didn't know scripture.
Yeah.
I didn't know, like, why we had, why the Bible said certain things. I just prayed.
Yeah.
And I went to church on Sunday sometimes. But listening to whatever music was out, like just conforming to the world, going to the club, doing all these things. But when I was 27 was when I rededicated my life to God because I started studying the word.
Yeah.
So when I started studying, then I started understanding why Jesus died for us, all these things, and then it opened my eyes spiritually. So I think like for some of us who are just in a mode of like, I'm gonna pray, I talk to God sometimes, whatever, but you're not studying, then you don't get that depth of spirituality that opens your eyes to things. Yeah. So I feel like I can't go back because I've seen too much. Yeah. So I can't listen to the same music. Yeah. I can't listen, because now I'm mindful of what I'm speaking out of my mouth. Yeah. Especially being married. Like you would think like, oh, you're married now like it's legal to have sex, so now you can listen to these things. Yeah. These things, but they can corrupt my marriage. They can corrupt my mindset. Yeah. So I'm very mindful of like the things I consume, the way I think, the people I'm around, because I feel like my eyes have been open and the depth of my knowledge of God has been like, magnified. So I think for me, I've learned to stop controlling everything because of that. And I've learned how to just let go and really let God. Yeah. So it's like every single day I wake up and I pray.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, what do you want for my day? My marriage is submitted to God. My life is submitted to God. My finances, my children, everything. So I'll say this, just to wrap this up. But like, my phrase in my 20s was, don't wait for opportunity, create it.
Yes, girl. You know? Okay, that part.
So I was creating opportunities and doing things that I couldn't sustain. And when I gave my life to God, I felt like he told me to cancel all of that. Yeah. And now in my 30s, I'm seeing how God has rebuilt everything according to his standards and his way and not my way. Yeah. And things seem a lot more solid. Yeah. So that's why I'm like, I'm not a creator. Like, I'm creative. Yeah. But I'm not the creator. Right. So I submit to him, and that makes everything different.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. What you were just saying brings me back to thinking about the ignorance is bliss. Yeah. That's what I was like thinking about. Like, you know, like living a life like you said you were a Christian, but you weren't a Christ follower. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think like the heart posture has changed is what it sounds like. Like, definitely like closer to God than closer to the perception of the identity, if that makes sense. Like, you know, like,
you know what we didn't talk about in 20s was that, well, I could say at least for me, I was depressed. Yeah. I was very low, always trying to fill in gaps, always trying to find what was wrong with me, trying different things. I was like doing yoga. I was like trying to check my chakras. I was getting sage. I was doing stuff because I was always depressed. Yeah. I was always sad. And I think when you say ignorance is bliss, it's like, yeah, there was a time where I was out here doing whatever, hanging out, doing all these things, but there was also time within that time where I was low all the time. So there was consequences to living a life that was like, I'm gonna do whatever. I'm gonna do whatever. Right. You know, a lot of drama, a lot of struggle when I didn't have to. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, and so to that, I think like, for me, I guess I wasn't necessarily thinking about like, oh, I'm just so happy doing this, but more so like ignorant in the ways of the word, you know, like how you said, like you're revealed, like God has taken the blinds off of your eyes, and like you see the impact of the decisions that you made. And I think like in my 20s, I was doing things and did not necessarily consider the impact, because I had no idea the impact of these things, but not until like really starting to get into my word, you know, not until I really started to like really study the word and get to understand God. And I think that's the biggest thing is like, you know, during, I would say like this transition, you know, from my 20s into like now, and just the evolution of my relationship with God, it went from a thing of like, of doing what a Christian should do, because that's what I was told and that's what I seen growing up. That's what I know, as opposed to like knowing the word for real and not doing things because my love for Christ. You know, I would say like, I don't think I really loved Christ. I don't think I really loved God growing up. Like, you know, I've been in church my entire life. Both sides of the families is in the church, you know. But, and I knew the Bible. I knew things in the Bible, but I did not know the Word of God, you know, for myself, you know. And I think that knowledge, I was just reading actually in Ecclesiastes. I was reading in Ecclesiastes, and the story about the teacher who was like, wanted to be like just the wisest person. I may be paraphrasing this wrong, but he basically went on a journey to just like try to learn. Let me just pull it up. Oh, I devoted myself to search for understanding and to explore by wisdom everything being done under heaven. I soon discovered that God has dealt a tragic existence to the human race. I observed everything going on under the sun, and really it is all meaningless, like chasing the wind. Like, it just goes on just talking about that. But the scripture, he was like, the greater my wisdom, the greater my grief. The increased knowledge... To increase knowledge only increases sorrow. And I think like that speaks to me so much, because like the more you know, the more you understand like the impact of the of your actions, you know, of the things that you do, and so like, yeah, I think I was just out here.
We know, yes, because we know people, and this is no shade, people who are still in it.
Yeah.
Who still, like, I mean, I can say now, like, I think about the podcast that I did where I was just sharing stuff. It's people who are like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like,
yeah.
But for me, I mean, even you saying, like, grieved, like, I feel grieved for the Shanell who was struggling that much. Who was, like, depressed.
Yeah.
It's like, it's all fun to be like, oh, yeah, like, this happened to me and blah, blah, blah. But, like, girl, like, the healing that I needed that I didn't see.
Yeah.
But also, like, the ways that I just think about how much patience God had for us.
Girl.
As we were going through what we were going through. Like, imagine if you just knew, like, I have something better for you.
Yeah.
But you go ahead and do, you know, just let me know when you're ready.
Right.
Like, that's a merciful God.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we've been able to look back and we see it differently because we've been transformed by God. But there's some people who will look back and they'll maybe even hear this episode and be like, I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't get why that makes you upset. I don't get why you took your music down off of, you know, whatever. I don't, you know, like, there's people who just don't get it.
It's me, because this one album she need to bring back.
Yes.
Can you see me now?
Oh, Lord. You know what I think of, though, when I think of that project?
I love that song.
I think of my pride.
Yeah.
I was very prideful. I was very, very, very prideful. And I was very lost. I was very about redemption. Like, I need to get... like, I was very about defending myself. So, a lot of those songs was like, you ain't... you know, and I don't think like that no more. You know, and it is a part of my past. I do have a copy.
I need that copy. Run me that.
A copy.
Girl, just go ahead and send it to me. I
that.
Should. All them songs wasn't that.
I'll tell you where it was on the internet.
I guess you got the backstory.
I mean...
look at me, compromising. So then you just need to make me a new theme song then.
Yes, I will. Because I want to record again.
Yay.
With a different mindset and all that. But yeah.
Oh, okay, so... now, like, obviously you're in your 30s. Like, what would you say, like, you wish somebody told you? Like, what would you tell your 20-year-old self? Like, this is you. You know,
that's so hard.
Yeah.
Because I have little cousins and, like, younger girls that I talk to who, I mean, they're not doing as bad as I was.
You know, like, I feel like these younger generations, like, they got it a little good.
They do, but I'm thinking, like, when I think of these younger girls and I see them struggling in relationships, I see them doing all these things, like, I have to remember, like, oh, I was there at one point. Yeah. I was a hot mess. So it's hard for me to say, like, what would I say to you? Because it's really hard to tell somebody, don't do this. Don't do that. But I would tell myself, well, no, I can't. Because I remember myself. Like, if I were to say, like, literally, if I came and talked to my younger self and I said, girl, don't mess with that boy. Don't talk to the... blah, 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 I would have said, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, because my emotions are wrapped up. I couldn't see it. I think, though, it's always worth sharing your testimony. I think there's a big impact when we just share our story. And that's probably what I would do, is just share the story. Like, hey, this is what happened. Yeah. Going down this path. This is what happened. This is what led me back to Jesus. And this what could save you some time. Because I feel like...
that's a good way to put it. I should write that down, because I'm always trying to tell somebody what to do.
Yes. But I'm like, let me just tell you my story. Because what we ended up doing in our 20s, although we had grace, was we wasted a lot of time. Like, there were some things that we could have been promoted to, or, you know, whatever, earlier, had we had put down our own selves and traded it for Jesus. I just feel like the sooner you know Jesus, or the sooner you start learning about him, the sooner, like, he starts working things out in your life. Not to say that you won't struggle, but you will save yourself a lot of heartache. Self-inflicted
decisions that, that part. Heavy on that, because I was I was hurting myself, child.
Yes.
I actually, girl, I had some things because I'm always telling somebody what to do. So I wrote some things down that I would tell somebody, you know. I think specifically because like you're in your early 20s, right? Like 20s from 20 to 29. You're just trying to figure it out, and I think like during that time I felt so lost, you know, like in terms of my purpose, because I'm like, God, what am I here for? Like you think career, like you got to start thinking about a career and what you want to do in life and this and that, and the thing is like when the thing that you think you want to do is not the thing that you actually are meant to do or called to do. Like during my college years, I knew I'm like, I'm going to med school, I'm going to be a doctor. That was it. Until I started going to school, and I was like, hold on now. I don't like, and then I'm not doing well in school, and then you start to question yourself, question your ability, question, is this what I'm even supposed to do? I think when I started struggling is when I first asked God, like, God, is this what I'm supposed to do? Is this what I'm meant to do? I never asked God before. I never said, God, what do you want me to do? You know, I just was like, this is what I want to do because X, Y, and Z, you know? And so I started to ask God, like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Like, is this what I should do? Should I pursue this career? And if not, then what should I do? Because I'm in school, I'm studying, I'm doing these classes, like, I'm trying, this needs to materialize into something. So, like, especially, like, for the 20-somethings who are just, like, trying to figure it out and have no idea, I definitely would say, like, one, submit to God, because the second I did, like, and started asking those questions for the first time, the more God started to speak to me. And I didn't necessarily want to hear it because I didn't think I was really in tune with that being the voice of God. Like, it was like, I don't know if I'm going to be a doctor. But part of it was because of my own insecurity with, like, how I was not doing well in those classes, you know, like, but also I wasn't giving the time and attention to those classes, you know what I'm saying? So there were some things that I needed to figure out, like, if it was self-inflicted, you know what I'm saying, that was causing this turn in thought, and like my just figuring out, like, is this really what I should be doing, or you know what I'm saying? So I went through that whole process, but then eventually when I finally graduated, I was like, I'm not going to med school. Now I really don't know what the freak to do. But
I remember that.
Literally, like, I ran out of the library. I was studying for the MCAT. I ran out the library because I'm like, it was so loud. God's voice was so loud. I said, I need to go. I left. I was there for 30 minutes and I left. Yeah, God's voice was so loud. So loud. And that's when I said, okay, God, like, I'm just going to follow the things that you press upon my heart. Because, like, as you mentioned, as Shanell mentioned, like, I was doing a lot during my college years too. I was doing a lot of organizing and activating on campus and, you know, planning and doing this and doing that. And so, like, just following the things that, like, I naturally gravitated to was a compass for me, you know, because and so I said to, like, follow your gifts, you know what I'm saying? Like, your gifts will make room for you, you know. And when I did not know what to do, I followed those gifts. There was a job that I got, my first job out of college. There was people who left college, and, you know, people get so depressed because they can't find a job and this and I had a job right out of college. And because I was like, okay, God, I'm just going to follow the gifts that you've given me. Organizing is one of those things. And that was my first job. And then that first job led me to this job, and it led me to that job, and it led me to being in this space and that space, which ultimately led me back to healthcare, right? When I thought that, okay, I'm not going to be a doctor. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just going to do whatever, right? And eventually it's going to lead you right back to where God wanted you. But I didn't know my why, you know? Like, I didn't know my why. I was why those things mattered to me. I didn't know why I wanted to be a doctor, except for the fact that they make money, you know? But through that process of, like, just following my gifts and the things that I love, I started to, like, see, and God started to reveal that my why, and so now I know, I did terrible in college. I wouldn't say I did terrible. I just didn't do as great as I know that I'm capable of, but not knowing your why is it. And I think like in your 20s and even like, you're trying to figure that out. Like there's people who know, and that's awesome, but then it's the people that don't know. That's what I'm talking to. Cause you know what I'm saying? Like, it's stressful.
I have so many responses to that, but like one, I'll say it's been a joy to watch you go through, like to come to where you are now.
Oh, that's so nice, because it was
like hard.
It was hard going through it.
That's what I'm saying. It's a joy to be like, okay, like even when you graduated, I was like, it was beautiful to see that.
Oh, thanks.
But I think like, so let me like go off and then come back.
Okay,
but, like,
girl.
CeCe Winans, right? She's a gospel singer.
We love CeCe.
But she got called to start a church with her husband, and she said that I'm willing to go where God places me to go. So she left music to start the church with her husband, and then God put her back into music. But it got me thinking about how in our 20s, we can be so obsessed with our career, what's our title, what am I putting in my Instagram bio, when really God makes it as simple as delight yourself in the Lord, and all things, I'm saying it wrong.
He'll give you the desires of your heart.
And then
seek first the kingdom, and all things will be added. Literally.
And that's all he requires us to do, because we're always like, what's my purpose? What am I here for? What am I supposed to do? When God placed you in the earth to be an image bearer, like you are to seek the kingdom, not boys or women, not relationships, not friendships, not these things. You are to seek God, and all other things will be added. So there's things that I'm doing now that I didn't think I would be doing, but because I've sought after God first, then he started saying, okay, now do this, now do this. But the thing that I love too about God in this walk with him is that he hasn't wasted anything.
Yes.
So it's like, although like we went on like these different tangents and did all these different things, like, I mean, I feel like there's a ministry in me to speak to girls about relationships because of what I went through. And I feel like everything that I learned, everything I shared on the podcast, whatever, like, it's not in vain. I feel like God's going to use it. But I think there's grace, but I think because you submitted to God, he definitely like created the pathway for you to come back to the place that you are now. But who would have thought though? Because let me say this, because you and I would have conversations about men and the idea of being wives, boys. Okay,
shade.
But listen, they don't even know who they are anymore. I hope. But to sit here with each other and be wives. Like,
the ring didn't mean a thing.
You need a soundtrack. You need a soundtrack for this episode.
Where's Kim?
Yes.
Get the ring.
That's what I'm saying.
The ring didn't mean a thing.
Okay. But to sit here and be wise. I say that because that seems so far-fetched for us then.
Yeah, totally.
Like, who would have thought that if you submitted to God, that young man who was in your face, taking your pictures, being your friend, like, who would have thought that he would be your husband?
I sure didn't.
But only because you submitted to God, all these things were added. And for us to, like, we're sitting in your home, on your podcast, like, that's something that God led you to do. But even after the episode that you shared, like, after grief, like, it's easy for you to have been like, I'm not doing any of this anymore. But because you follow God, like, he's just been leading you in such a beautiful way. And I just think of my 20s like that, in the fact that, dang, God still loved us enough to redeem us from the hot mess that we were in.
Okay. We're going into, I am entering. You've been there for a little bit, so you got a little bit of experience. But I guess, like, what are you welcoming in, like, this new season, should I say? Like, this new season of life. Like, you're 30, flirty, and thriving.
Yes. Girl, we get into the thriving part because
Yeah.
God still got us on a journey.
Yeah.
To trust Him. But I think for me, it's definitely, I feel good. I feel peaceful.
Yeah.
I feel a lot more humble.
Mm-hmm.
Girl, because I have to be humble. There's things that I've had to go back and apologize for in my 20s. And I think there's things that I've apologized to you for that you're like, girl, stop apologizing. But like, I feel more at peace.
Mm-hmm.
I feel humble.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been humbled.
Girl, heavy on that.
Listen, like, I don't move unless God tells me to move.
Mm-hmm.
Which, funny that I had, like, our last episode was when God moves, I move. But, like, I don't really think, I was, like, getting there.
Mm-hmm.
But, I just feel peaceful. I feel like I'm more calm. I don't feel the need to defend myself all the time.
Yeah, that part.
You know, because one of my biggest lessons, like, of 29 was learning that God goes before you. Mm-hmm. God will go before me, open doors. God will go before me and defend my name. Mm-hmm. God will go before me and put my name in rooms that I'm not in. Mm-hmm. So I just feel very meek.
Yeah.
I say that. I feel very meek. But the Bible says the meek will inherit the kingdom. Mm-hmm. And I understand why. Because I'm quieter. I'm softer. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to be softer in my marriage.
Yeah.
That's hard. Submission is hard. Which is a whole other episode. But I love my husband. And God's given me somebody who I can easily submit to if I submit.
Right.
You know, if I do it fully as I should. Mm-hmm. But I feel like God has allowed me to live a soft life. Mm-hmm. But still deal with challenges, but in a way that is more lenient on him than on myself, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I think I just, here's the word I'm looking for. I feel very secure in who I am. That. For the first time.
Yeah.
In my life.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
100%. 100%.
Yes.
Yeah, I think like during just that whole growth, that whole decade of growth, of like trying to like feeling sad because you're not included. Well, I'm speaking for myself because like I was excluded from certain things or not, you know what I'm saying? Like being in certain spaces with people like, oh dang, how come y'all didn't call me or this or that? Girl, don't if you don't want to call me, baby, don't call me, okay? Because my phone stay on do not disturb anyway.
Yes, it does.
My phone stay on do not.
But I be trying to call twice to break.
I know, girl. No, I got it on super super D&D.
Yes.
No.
I'll be having a text. They're like, "Hey, I called you."
I know. I just gotta push you in my favorites.
Yeah,
but
thank you.
But no, like heavy on that, feeling secure in knowing, like, cause I used to force it, heavy. Yeah. Force it, cause I wanted what I wanted. Yeah. But girl, what? Like, if it now I'm afraid to because I've learned that the times when I like force it, whatever it is when I end up missing out on something so much better, you know? And so like I just let things be. You know? That's how you want it. It's maybe I believe it's meant to be that way then. Right. You know what I'm saying? That don't mean I don't speak up, but like I'm like, okay, God, you know, okay, God, if that's the way it is, then that's the way it is, you know? I think that's like the biggest thing, but also just knowing, specifically with life, because so many things happen. You lose jobs. Yes. I lost my job. Yep. You know, not having enough money or this or like just things happen in life, and like you just have to just sit back and like allow God to be God. And the moment we try to force it is the moment where you ain't being soft. Yeah. You know, that submission is like you're not submitted to Christ and allowing him to do what he is there to do. Yeah. You know?
That's good. Yeah. That's good. And it's trusting God.
Yeah.
Trusting God has been the biggest thing. Yeah. But God has showed me time and time and time again that I got you. Yeah. And I think because like our family specifically has gone through a really hard season, which I feel like a lot of people have specifically gone through a hard season, like financially, all that. But I would just say for us, it's been hard. But we learned how to trust God on a whole new level. Like, I'm to the point now where stuff be happening
Mm-hmm.
and I laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay.
Okay,
what are you
Proverbs
gonna do?
31 woman.
Yeah, she
Laughs
laughs.
in the face of
Yes.
trouble. Okay, for you.
So that's where I'm at now. Like, there was a time, just transparent, like, I was trying to figure out how we going to pay for groceries.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, all right, God. Like, because he built up that trust for us over the last year to be like, okay, God, what you going to do? Because you know we have to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody sent us, like, a random cash app.
Girl.
And we had groceries.
Yeah.
So I'm at that level now where it's like my king, my provider, my peace, my everything is going to provide. So even I have to translate that trust to the people that God placed into my life and has been strategic about placing in my life. And I think part of my 30s is learning to not walk into situations with the expectation of hurt, especially with my husband, especially with my children and my family and my friends. So with that, there's way more peace. So yeah, it's still, I feel like one thing I've come to the conclusion of is that we're always going to be learning. And we're going to look at our 40s and be like, girl, how was your 30s? And like, not, it probably wouldn't be as hot of a mess because we know how to be obedient.
Hopefully.
You know, but there's still going to be challenges. And I'm hoping that when we get to 40, that we can look back and say, you know, these are the lessons I learned. These are the things that we came out of. But because of God, you know, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Which is totally different than, girl. You know, like just this whole conversation that we just had.
Girl,
but
I know. But it's good character development.
It really is.
Aww.
It really is.
So cheers to 30.
Yes, to 30.
To 30.
Yes, wow.